Hi everyone! With Corona once again flaring up in Skåne, I would like to talk about some of the reflections I have been doing during the year about working remote and how to make it work in a team. On the benefit sides, we found flexibility. You can have the potential for better work-life balance. It's safer. You're interacting with less people. You can be in the zone the whole day, which could potentially increase output. It's very cost efficient. No commute, no expensive lunches. And also, it's good for the environment, since you don't have to commute. And then we have some of the risks. For example, lack of communication. Even if you're in meetings all day, you still take coffee breaks and lunch breaks and so on. But when you're working remote, you miss this, and you also lose a lot of good conversation with your colleagues. You can also lose sense of time. It's not that insane anymore to do 16-hour days. We can also see a decreased quality in the work that actually gets delivered. And then we also have the mental and physical degradation by sitting alone all day. With this in our minds, I would like to discuss these challenges and how to overcome them. We are people, not clones. Since every person is different and therefore every team is different, there is no recipe that will work for everyone. This makes the remote work problem quite tricky to solve. For example, introverts versus extroverts. Everyone is somewhere on the scale, and some people really enjoy working alone, while some people hate it from day one. Most people are somewhere in the middle of the scale, and might enjoy the solitude to start with, but will after a couple of weeks crave for human interaction. We also have the challenges of different schedules. For example, we have the morning larks, also known as the early birds. These people prefer to get up early and go to bed early. Around 10% of the population fits into this category. Then we have the night owls, as the other extreme. These people like to sleep in and go to bed late, usually after midnight. Around 20% of us are night owls. The vast majority fit somewhere in between these two ends of the spectrum. There are many more examples of things that makes us different, but I will at least try to present some solutions to challenges that are typical for remote teams. I call this the A-Team Actions Act, and here we have 4 points on tips how to make remote work better. We have maintaining sense of teamwork, building trust in the team, defined roles and responsibilities, and avoid distractions. Let's start with the first one, maintaining a sense of teamwork. We are all in this together, and we need to talk to each other. A team without communication will lead to misunderstandings, irritations, isolation, and a tremendous amount of time wasting. An example from my world. During the spring, when me and Joel Edge team was working on the solution, Joel and I was working 16-hour days for 2 weeks to finish it. We didn't have any other commitments and was lurking in Discord the whole days, playing music, talking shit, and had a huge output, and we communicated constantly. Sounds good, right? No, there was actually a problem. We did not act as a team, but instead as a duo against the rest of the team. When they joined in during more normal working hours and obviously had questions about all the things we had been working on during the night, we became defensive and thought, why is someone questioning our judgment when we have been putting in all the work? The solution? And after work, we tried to have some virtual ones, but I think the group dynamic was so distorted at this point in time that it was not until we dared to host a physical one that we could move forward. Communication is key. If we would have been communicated better beforehand on what we were doing and aligned better from the start, I don't think we would have gotten ourselves into that situation. The question is, how do we communicate? There is a multitude of tools to help with this process. For example, Teams, Discord, Trello, email, phone calls, screen sharing software, etc. We personally liked the Discord because it was a constant. We could hang out in the channel a full day and talk to each other whenever we wanted, just like in the office. What we missed was that on Discord you mostly use your voice to communicate, which means that there is no log of decisions and discussions. If we had added something like Trello to the mix, where we could have cards with the things we were building and why, the result would probably have been better. When communication improves, the team collaboration will also improve. Everyone in the team checks in with each other and can therefore lend a helping hand when needed, or just be that as a soundboard when needed to discuss a solution. Next point, building trust in the team. You cannot control everything, so you must let go and trust everyone else to do their part. Example from my world. There is this autumn, I, Andreas, and the two Jespers was working on another system from to manage the pandemic situation. Since I was the veteran in the game from building and similar solutions before, and also acting as some kind of project manager, I wanted to have full control of everything from the start. Pretty soon, this made me the bottleneck of the team, with my limited part of just building the backend in a front-end heavy system, combined with the fact that I had other commitments from both the customer and GESHDO, taking up larger and larger amount of my time. I had to let go. During October, we decided to implement a minimal project methodology, with 2-week sprints, a sprint planning meeting, Trello cards for all tasks, and a weekly demo. With these tools, I could delegate more and instead act as a service center when the rest of the team needed APIs. It also released resources from the other team members, and we're currently working on 3 different projects at the same time. In 2 of them, I build the backend, and in the last case, we decided on a design where our client-side integrates directly against GCP services through Firebase, which made me completely detached from the coding of that project. I love this approach and can focus on helping with testing and coordinate our demos for the clients instead. With a physical distance between the team members and maybe widely different work schedules, it's impossible to maintain control of every part of a project. To handle this, the team members must trust each other and management must trust the team members without micromanagement. The most basic way of building trust is of course to not just kill each other given the chance, but if we want to look at something a bit more applicable for a modern office environment, the most common way is actually to just keep promises. A culture of keeping promises can start with baby steps, delivering on decided deadlines, or just to show up to all planned meetings, on time and well prepared. By constantly delivering on the day-to-day things, over time, real trust is built. The third point, defining roles and responsibilities. Even when a team is sitting together every day, it is important that everyone has a clear role and a defined ownership over the part of the project and its success. This effect is amplified in a remote setting, when it's become even more crucial. This to avoid duplicated work, confusion, and unclear chain of command. When everyone has a defined area of ownership in a product, the owner takes more responsibility for their part and everyone knows who to talk to for information and guidance about that specific part. When everyone is working remote, the problems I mentioned before with less communication and different schedules kicks in, which leads to people working on the same things or trying out solutions to problems that other teammates already tried and discarded. When you cannot just ask the person sitting next to you, it becomes really important to define the areas, assign all tasks for each area, and then let the owner of that area be responsible for how those tasks get solved. This doesn't mean that the owner has to do all the work, but instead that the owner has the mandate to say, no, this is not a solution we can do in this way, since it will not scale, integrate, or be performant enough. When you introduce clear roles, you're also making it easier to track the progress of the project, since every owner can answer for their part. The important takeaway here will be to focus on the result and not the hours spent though. Avoid the distractions. This is the last action I will talk about today. When working from home, it's necessary to remove the distractions that hinders you from doing your job. This does not mean that you should lock yourself in the basement for 8 hours a day, but that you will separate work time from personal time in a manner that makes sense for you. One example from my world. During the spring I planned my day as the following. 8:30 to 9, waking up and eating breakfast. 9 to 11:30, I worked. 11:30, I started the grill and then I continued working. From 12 to 12:45, I barbecued something delicious and then I had lunch. From 12:45 to 1:30, taking a walk. And then from 1:30 to 6:30, I was working again. Of course, this plan fell apart some days, where I spent the days doing other stuff, which I had to compensate for in the evening. But by trying to follow a set schedule, it became easier to remove distractions from everything else. Since my girlfriend also was working from home during this time, we agreed for her to take the first floor and me the second floor of our house. Not everyone has the space to do it like this, but similar arrangements can be done, which each person occupies a separate room as an office during work hours. For example, one person sitting in the kitchen and one in the living room, and then maybe you switch the next day. The long break in the middle of the day also made me utilize the bright hours of the day a bit better, and after the daily work, I could continue to work with a new focus. Conclusions. There is both upsides and downsides to working remote, and during a forced remote event such as the pandemic, the downsides become extra visible. But through some discipline and following the advices I've been giving in this speech, you can do the best of the situation and enjoy the freedom and positive things that remote work brings to your life. Looking forward, I think remote work is here to stay. The companies and the employees adapt, and regular remote work, we can still have a social life, will seem very easy compared to the current one. Many of the big tech companies has already announced that they will let their employees choose to work 100% remote permanently in the future. However, this creates a bunch of other challenges, which is why my vision for the future is a hybrid model where you can alternate between remote and office work. Thank you for watching this talk.